I'm Jake Fire,
And I'm Madeline Aldridge.
and we're here today to educate you on prison rape. Most people think that prison rape is just inmate on inmate.
But what you don't know is that staff members are frequently involved with having sexual intercourse with inmates.
Staff member rape is not included in the 200,000 prison rapes per year. Inmates who are at a higher risk of being sexually assaulted in prison are inmates that have mental health problems,
Inmates who identify themselves as members of the LGBTQ community, and minors in juvenile detention facilities.
The inmates that are committing these acts of sexual violence have sentences that are typically up to 5 years and higher.
The inmates who are committing these acts of sexual violence are typically heterosexual.
The victims of this sexual violence often develop PTSD, anxiety, depression, and thoughts of suicide, and are also at high risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases.
Often, these victims don't have any resources to turn to and are afraid to speak up out of fear for their safety.
In 2003, the Prison Rape Elimination Act was put into place to help combat sexual assault in confinement facilities.
Although this made prison rape statistics available, there has not been much done in terms of eliminating rape in prison.
The Prison Rape Elimination Act requires jails and prisons across the country to report any cases of sexual assault that happen on the grounds of the facility.
Prison environment will carry on to the next generations to come because this behavior is not stopping, nor are people doing anything to stop or prevent rape in prison. In this next portion of our video, we'd like to share our other group member Amol's takeaways from interviewing a correctional officer who wishes to remain anonymous.
For our project, we wanted to inform people about prison rape. I interviewed a family friend of mine who was a prison guard in Massachusetts. He's going to be a state trooper, and he wanted his name disclosed because he didn't know how legal it was for him to answer these questions on a personal level. The first question we asked him was, how often does rape occur in prison that you know of? His answer was, I'm sure that there are statistics available that show how often prison rape occurs. However, it often goes unreported to correctional officers. The second question we asked him was, how often do people get caught and reprimanded for commuting the act? He answered, I've never seen anyone get caught or reprimanded for rape that occurred in prison. The third question we asked him was, how often do victims come forward? He answered, I believe that victims are scared or embarrassed to come forward, and prison rape is oftentimes undocumented and not reported. The fourth question we asked him was, what is done for the victim if said victim comes forward? He answered, the Department of Correction is aware that prison rape does occur. There is a PREA, which stands for Prison Rape Elimination Act, and it is a hotline for victims and informants to contact. The prison rape system provides protective housing for inmates that claim to have been raped and for inmates that are more susceptible to sexual violence. The fifth and final question we asked him was, how have you had to deal with a situation like that personally? He answered, personally, I've never been involved in a case involving prison rape or sexual violence.